Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another review for Black Clover chapter 326. And I gotta say, man, this last chapter, it picks up exactly where the last one left off. And I'm very pleasantly surprised at not only the development that we got with Liebe, but also Asta's acknowledgement of Liebe that, like, hey, this is my brother, and how dare you kill my brother's mother. And it's one of those things where Asta doesn't know just yet that it wasn't just Liebe's mother who died, it was also Asta's own mother. However, I think that that's kind of setting the stage for a future revelation later on down the line, because Asta, that was his mother. Liebe directly says it when he's shaking hands with Asta the first time they make that devil union together. They're like, yo, like, you really are Lictor's kid. So I gotta say, that's gonna be very rewarding to see that. But I thought it was interesting how in the moment where it seemed like all hope was lost, that's when Asta made that connection with Liebe. And that was a very nice payoff, because the way that this chapter starts off with making that decision to bet on Yami, and Asta as an anti-magic didn't want to risk using star magic. I get exactly why he chose Yami in that situation. However, the problem with this is that Lucifero, he ain't just an animal, he's a whole different beast altogether, because you get this shot where Yami attempts to strike and fails, and you get this look of absolute desperation on Yuno's face. Very beautiful artwork. The shading is very well done on that scene right there. And you see as Lucifero is behind Yuno at that point, but right behind him you have Yami and Noct, and there's a very beautiful double page spread where you just see as Yami and Noct have that combo spell Doppelganger, and it looks like for the very first time Lucifero might get his head cut off. And even the Supreme Devil is watching the whole scene unfold, and he's just got this very intrigued expression on his face. But then you see the blood splatter that's on the panel right beneath that, and that lets you know right there, like, okay, somebody got dusted. And when you get to the next page, it's a whole nother double page spread, and you see two people have been impaled. And then when you get to the bottom panel, you see that Lucifero had two more arms that just sprouted forward, and he's essentially gutted Yami and Noct. And that was so brutal to see. And like the way that Lucifero's whole face is just shaded out right there in complete black, it's one of those things where it does a good job to just show the ominous and the dangerous presence that he has. Very good usage of contrasting when it comes to the way that the composition's done on this. And I like how Asta, you see the back portion of Asta's head, and you get this scene where when it transitions over, Asta has that expression on his face where it looks like Asta shit himself, and Lucifero directly says that it is over now, and Asta is completely helpless. And as his eyes have just begun to widen with that shock and that belief that, okay, this might be it, Liebe pops up right there on this man's shoulder. And what's so crazy about that is that Liebe, in that moment where it looks like he might be the one that is passing on, Liebe thinks back to everything that happened leading up to this point, and his first thoughts are, I'm sorry, Lictor. And what I like here is that Asta and Liebe, they're so connected right now that Asta is able to get all of those memories that happened with Liebe, from Liebe being attacked in the underworld to Liebe walking around the human world and being basically treated like dirt, to Lictor taking him in, Lictor saying, you can be my child, Lictor raising him, the way that Lictor gives him the name Liebe, and then her final moments where she calls him her son. And you get this moment where Asta sees Lucifero kill Richter during that point, and you have that scene where you have the grimoire, and Liebe says, I can't believe this is everything that happened. I spent all that time in the grimoire, I cursed devils, and I had my anti-magic, but in the end, I wasn't strong enough to defeat Lucifero. I couldn't avenge Lictor, and if I just would have stayed in the underworld, she wouldn't have had to die. And you just see all that guilt and blame. And I like how Asta is just connecting to all of this, and you get this very beautiful choice of just having no backgrounds. And what I like about this is that this is actually something that you saw Tite Kubo do a lot in the Bleach manga, which is basically go with the whole aesthetic of no backgrounds. And the reason why Kubo did it is the same reason that Tabata's doing it. When you have no backgrounds like this and it's just completely white, it makes you focus on the characters and you really get to peer inside of the character's soul. And what you see here is that Liebe, when he breaks down crying, in that moment right there, the lack of background just makes you focus in on the amount of hurt that he's feeling. And it makes you look at Asta and you see how small Asta looks. And it's because jump back to being more of a child in terms of his appearance. And Asta calls out to Liebe and he says, I don't know anything about your pain, but I do know that your magic, your anti-magic, it brought us together. Your anger and your sorrow, your pain, it gave me strength, and I thank you for that. And I like how you just see as these two characters, they begin connecting, and you see as Asta, as he begins to start reaching out to Liebe even further, Asta's body's transforming. You see Asta in the completely buff form that we're used to seeing him in, and Asta says that I'm very lucky to have met somebody like you and have you in my life, and if we're working together, we'll find a way to defeat Lucifero. And as they're in that form together, that form of just complete whiteness, when you start to see some of the background, it's on the right side of both of them, it's at their backs, and it's just showing that Liebe has now left behind that hurt and he's focusing on the task at hand, which is defeating Lucifero. And I thought that was very good. I thought that just that build up towards slowly bringing us back to the present and slowly bringing us back to panels that have an actual background. Very good choice by Tabata from an artistic standpoint. I like how that bottom panel, you have nothing shown, but you have the speed lines, and that just shows how quickly things are transitioning over. And it gets to that moment where Asta, as he is looking over at Lucifero, he blocks him and he says, I don't care if you're the king of the devils. I want to know, who are you to have killed my partner's mom? And in that moment right there, you see is like Asta, he's in that devil union transformation. Asta's got 5 horns. He's very prominent at this point. He's definitely gotten a power up. And what's so crazy about that is if Lucifero had not acknowledged him before, he's got no choice but to acknowledge him, because Asta previously only had 4 devil horns. However, when you look at him now, he sprouted a 5th horn. So that's gonna be interesting to see if Asta, this new transformation, if it's gonna be enough to push Lucifero back. And I really want to see what that supreme devil that is watching everything is gonna be doing. So I mean, overall, this is pretty good, man. You know, make sure you keep the notifications on, because I am gonna be doing a separate video talking about the importance of Asta getting that 5th horn. So keep notifications on. However, I want to know from you guys, how do you guys feel about Asta finally learning about Lichte and learning about the circumstances of her death? Why do you personally think that Tabata's holding out the information that, hey, this is also your mother? Why do you think Asta has not learned that yet? Let me know down in the comment section below. So always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.